Hello, I'm Brad Trinkle, Co-Chief Operating Officer at Garmin. Since its inception 12 years ago, fēnix has become a flagship wearable for Garmin, now worn by a community of millions who rely on this incredible smartwatch to reach their full potential and to be limitless. And for the ultra-performance athletes who go to extremes, Enduro has become a trusted tool in the help of their pursuit of the unimaginable. In the presence of the world's greatest athletes here in Chamonix, France, the epicenter of the trail running universe, what better place to introduce to you our next generation of outdoor and ultra-performance smartwatches? It is my honor to introduce our passionate and dedicated customers to these amazing new products from Garmin. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to meet fēnix 8 and Enduro 3.
Hello from beautiful Chamonix, everybody. Thanks for joining us here today. It is an exciting day for Garmin. You just heard it from Brett in the video, launching two new watches today, the fēnix 8 and the Enduro 3. And what an incredible setting with the Mont Blanc in the background here in this, as he said, epicenter of trail running. There is no better place. So just to let you know what we're doing in the next roughly 50 minutes, I want to say, we're going to introduce the watches to you. There's a lot of new features you want to hear about. We're going to talk about the new and improved displays, battery life, but leak-proof buttons, and great new features. So it's going to be an exciting 50 minutes, and we're going to start it off with two guests that have been an integral part of developing the watches, who I'm going to welcome in a second. And then we want to talk to some athletes who do the unbelievable, the crazy, the incredible. Three amazing athletes that we're going to welcome here in Chamonix, here in our studio in the later stages of the talk. And, well, I said I want to welcome two gentlemen. Just quickly, before we start chatting, if you want to see a translation of what we're talking about, and we've got AI-generated translations ready for you, so forgive us if not every word is correct, but it comes in multiple languages. All you got to do is at the bottom left screen, you got to push that little arrow, you're going to choose your language, and then, well, enjoy the next 50 minutes. So with that, a very warm welcome to my two guests. We got John on my left-hand side, the gentleman with the good haircut, coming all the way from Kansas, lead product manager on the fēnix, and then to my right, Martin, head of product management outdoor for EMEA. So welcome to the both of you.
Well,
thank you.
We couldn't be more excited to be here. This town is amazing. The valley, the energy, the culture, the music. There's just so much life here, and it's so fun to be here. So we've got a lot to talk about today.
Yeah, eventually we are able to release our new products, right? Share it with the world, share it with our install base and our loyal customers. So two products, as you said, fēnix, which is the most significant update that we ever did on the fēnix, like you will see. And on the Enduro side, we are eventually getting the Enduro its own ultra performance design. So super excited, a lot of new features coming. Thank you.
Hey, you said it, finally we're ready to release it. I mean, you've been involved for years now. It takes time to develop. So how does it feel to see the watches go live as we speak now?
It feels so good. We've worked on these for so long, and there's so many people back home who've worked on the features, and it's just an amazing effort that goes into this. So this is just a taste of what we get to do. We get to finally reveal it to the world, which is awesome and super exciting, but it came with a lot of work.
And Martin, you said it's the biggest fēnix update ever. I had the great pleasure to play a little bit with it already, and it's incredible. So really stick around for this. But before we dive into the details, we've got a lot of fēnix users out there, but not everybody is one yet. Take us a little bit through what makes the fēnix.
Yeah, so the fēnix is really a very special watch. It's the leading multi-sport smartwatch in the market, I would say, and it has a lot of really compelling features which make it very relevant to the customer base. So first of all, it has a stunning design, really tough looking, very distinguished. So you see it on the wrist of somebody and you recognize right away he's wearing a fēnix, right? Very rugged, sapphire and solar we have on the device as well, and there's also titanium as a material, which makes it very well protected. At the same time, we are offering it in 3 different sizes. So for everybody, there's a size which fits in 43, 47, and 51 millimeters. So that is also something which is really good. It's very easy to wear, very compelling features there. We have performance features there which help athletes to get even better and become better athletes over time, gets them the possibility to track their performance development and how to recover in the best way. We have everyday smart features which are really cool. So you have your smart connected features, smart messages, you have music and maps and wireless payment there as well. And of course, we have an extraordinary battery life to experience this on a daily basis and not being slowed down by charging cycles. So whenever I meet a fēnix customer, they are super happy and proud owners, and they're always very glad to wear and proudly wear the fēnix.
And John, I got to hear that from you if that's true. A lot of proud owners, and there's 4 of them that now own a Garmin that are going to space. The fēnix is going to space. Is that true?
That's true, and I couldn't be more excited and honored for that. There's a SpaceX mission that was supposed to launch today, actually, but it was delayed. It's going to launch tomorrow morning at the earliest, so I hope tomorrow morning. But what's so exciting is there's 4 astronauts. They're going to go for a 5-day mission, do a 2-hour spacewalk, and do so much more, and all 4 of them are wearing fēnix watches, which is just incredible. And it's not by chance. Like, they're using that watch because mainly 3 things. 1, it has incredible biometric tracking, so they want to be able to track the impact of the rigors of space on the human body, and so they can continue to push space travel forward. And to do that, they need something that can continually track them. So that's where our battery life comes into play. It's tracking them for the entirety of the 5-day mission. Never have to take it off to charge, so tracking sleep cycles and so much more. And then also the build quality, rugged, tough watch that can withstand the drastic, environment of space. So yeah, it's incredible. The team back home is incredibly excited. It's such an honor.
I'm just trying to think if there could be a cooler testament to the quality of than, hey, the product I worked on is going to space. It's got to feel good. It
does feel good. And the tagline for fēnix being "Be limitless," and there's not many more places that are more limitless than space. So,
but they're not on the 8 yet. We just launched that. So we want to talk about the 8, obviously, a little bit. And with projects like that, but with the huge follower base and everything that the fēnix has and the statements that you're putting out there's got to be pressure as well in developing the watch. How do you go about, and what did you do to improve it even more on the fēnix 8?
So, I mean, first of all, there is a lot of pressure, and we take this very serious because once we're talking to people, they always talk about their fēnix, right? They're very emotional about this. They come with good ideas, and we are then, in the end, we're balancing these ideas because we want to make sure once with the fēnix 8, they still consider this their fēnix, and they're still proud to take it out in the wild to play and to take it to great adventures, right?
I mean, so a lot happened on that end, but what, talking about the fēnix and the pillars and everything that stands behind it, like, what does it stand for?
Yes, so, we talk about the responsibility of kind of stewarding this brand forward, and there's really 4 key words or key traits that we want our users to think of when they think of a fēnix. 1, we want them to think of rugged performance. 2, we want it to be a trusted tool for them. 3, we want it as advanced multi-sport watch, so something that's very multi-dimensional, does a lot of different sports and very advanced functionality. And then 4, everyday utility, those everyday smartwatch features and everyday useful features. Keep it on your wrist 24/7.
So it's easy to put the statements out and say, hey, this is what we want to do, this is what we want to achieve, but you do it on the regular. You did it again with the fēnix 8. So let's go through it a little bit, through those 4 pillars that we were just talking about. And let's start with rugged performance. What's behind it?
So rugged performance, we understand these 2 aspects of something being rugged and allow for performance, right? I mean, the ruggedness is very important. We have a very solid design. So we have titanium that we use for the best integrity of the device in a lightweight. We have sapphire glass, which is very well protected. And we are using this combination because we know that our customers are taking the product out there. They take it to very high altitudes. They take it into the cold, into the heat of the desert. They take it wherever they want it. And we feel the obligation that the fēnix needs to sustain this environment. We want to be on the wrist with our athletes and with our adventurers out there and have a great product. So they have a really good product experience. So why does it matter? it is relevant for us that the product or the watch, the fēnix 8, sustains and survives on the wrist of their athletes as well.
So now I'm a person who doesn't have the same imagination that you guys have, right? So I've really been testing my fēnix 7. I've taken it out there. I've tried to bang it up. It is rugged. You know, I did not succeed in sun. So for me, it's been the perfect watch already. How did you improve on the fēnix 8?
Yeah, we're going to keep pushing things forward, and with fēnix 8, it's the toughest watch we've built to date, and we've done that by a few ways. One is we've added leak-proof buttons, which we'll get into a little bit more of why later, but the leak-proof buttons are fantastic because they truly are leak-proof, and that's a bold claim to make, but when you do things like scuba diving, you need those things to be trusted and enduring and make sure that you can trust your device. So that's definitely one way. We also added a sensor guard, and we'll talk about some of these features as well, but it protects one of the microphones and it protects the barometric altimeter. So those are two hardware reasons, but there's more.
There is more, definitely. I mean, one of the things that has changed a lot is the display, for example. Stuff happened there as well. Things I think people have been waiting for.
Yeah. No, so this is the first time when we have two very different display technologies under one brand, and that's really exciting and hugely important. One, we have AMOLED displays, and we offer AMOLED in 3 sizes: the 43 millimeter, the 47 millimeter, and the 51 millimeter. And then we have solar with memory and pixel displays, which are beautiful out in the sunlight. And those, we offer those in 47 millimeters and 51 millimeters. So each display technology is really unique and has its unique advantages, and we're very excited for it to be under the one brand. But more importantly, it's just the different customer bases that it appeals to. There's one brand now, fēnix, and both those display technologies under one roof just lets the person make the choice and preference, but stay within the brand.
So if we're looking at the both, or the different displays, where do you see the advantages in one or the other?
So with AMOLED displays, they're incredibly bright, beautiful, high resolution, lots of colors. So you can see in the graphical interface, there's nice transitions, there's just nice colors. It's just easy to see both indoors and in the sun. And then one place that it really takes advantage of them is our preloaded mapping. You have great visibility to the map detail, the contour lines, the trails. Those things really matter when you're outside. And then lastly, like satellite imagery looks beautiful on there. So there are certain advantages that AMOLED brings that are really nice.
But then obviously there is a demand for the solar as well. I'm still a solar user. So why use the solar, or who's going to use the solar and what for?
Yeah, I mean, solar is all about battery life and display visibility in the direct sunlight. It uses a transflective display technology, which actually uses the sunlight, reflects it, so you can see the display better in the sun than having to overpower it with AMOLED. So that's how we get crazy good battery life. And we've made some innovations with the solar panel too, to make it where it's more efficient, easier to see. So solar, we've made quite a bit significant improvement, which you can see in the battery life numbers.
So battery life is one big one. We talked a little bit, you touched some of the things already, like the leak-proof buttons. We talked about the display. So that's a little bit on the rugged side, right? But another thing you mentioned in the 4 pillars is the trusted tools that we obviously want to talk about as well. What's behind that and why it's important?
Yeah, so if you know Garmin, Garmin has this kind of reputation to build very rugged and very lasting, relevant tools for people who need to navigate and who need to perform. I mean, it is sailors crossing the Atlantic. It is rescue pilots flying helicopters which trust on Garmin devices. There's people crossing the Sahara or doing expeditions in the Arctic, right? And they use Garmin devices to safely navigate. Or even performance athletes preparing for marathons or world championships. They use Garmin devices because they trust the products. And that comes on the one side because we are putting cutting edge technology in there. And that is what the fēnix is also doing, right? fēnix was inheriting this kind of reputation through Garmin. And we really made sure that fēnix is a very strong product and has the top end features like a barometric altimeter, like performance GPS and multi-GNSS positioning as well, and BioVital sensors as well, which are measuring your body condition in a very, very high quality. And we're putting all these together, these sensor capabilities to create really relevant features that people can execute on, that they really get to over the finish line. So a trusted tool is very important for us. Reliability and precision is something that we hold very, very dear.
kind of like it. It's like a good reminder of how spoiled I am, actually, and that I've been wearing it for a long time. Because I never, when I go out and do cool things, I never think about my watch. I know it's there. I know I can trust it. I know it works. But if I look at your end, there's got to be pressure as well. I mean, you mentioned it. You go into Antarctica, so to push it a little bit, somebody's life might depend on the watch, and so you need a tool that doesn't distract or anything.
Yeah, we take Trusted Tool very seriously, and the phrase, trust is hard to earn but easy to lose is something we talk about as a team, because it's just so true. If it fails you one time, you're going to be just a little bit hesitant the next time, and that trust that you've earned with that watch is just super important to us, and we want to make sure we push that forward, and that's why it's one of the core pillars of what it means to be a fēnix. One of the just expanding on some of the other new features that we've brought with fēnix 8 regarding being a trusted tool. Battery life is a key one, both on the AMOLED products and on the solar products. The AMOLED, the big size, gets up to 29 days as a smartwatch. That's almost a month. That's amazing. But then you push that even further. The big version of the solar watch gets up to 48 days. So just crazy battery life numbers that Enduro will even go far beyond that. But battery life is one key place that we earn that trust.
The first thing I think when you say more battery life is more time to play, more time to explore, to be out there and so on, which also means, more adventure, more exploring unknown territory, which is something you worked on as well.
Yeah, maps, preloaded maps. It's been a key pillar of fēnix. We really want those maps to be accurate. We want to have them preloaded so you don't have to worry about downloading them right in the moment. They're super important, both from a spatial awareness environment, but also just when you're actually using them. The big attribute of our maps is that they're routable, and that routable aspect really is a game changer, where you can really use them. You can, if you need to go someplace new but get back with confidence, you can explore and make sure your watch is going to get you back.
It's one of the things that's if you look at the mapping, but there's more things that I'm quite excited about. So one of them, for example, is radius. Take us through that.
Yeah, we have a new distance radius on the map, so it just helps make the scale of the map a little bit more glanceable and actionable. You can see on the top of the display it has a ring, and that's the distance from you. And we have countless other navigation improvements throughout the interface. Lots of usability improvements, but also just the way that you interact, the menu structure. We have a completely separate loop now where the navigation experience is a little bit more separated from the activity experience, so that it creates less clutter in your data loop, and it just cleans things up. So we also have a new feature called map layers, or configurable map layers. So we know that people use our maps for a lot of different reasons, and it's important that when you use your product, you can customize it and make it just as you want. So with the map layers, and especially as you bring in more maps with like Outdoor Maps Plus and things, but as you bring in these map layers, you can customize which ones you want to show or not show, and then the order of them, and it just makes a much better experience overall.
And just when I was testing the watch, something that was really new to me and that I really liked is, because I travel so much, unknown territory and so on, is the whole round trip thing that you implemented. How does that work?
Yeah, so we've had round trip routing in the watch for a few years, but we've added a new element to it called dynamic round trip routing. And what that feature does is we know, well, round trip routing, you put in a distance, it creates a round trip loop for you. It creates 3 of them. You select one and you start running. Well, what we've noticed is people like being a little bit more flexible. They like having more adaptability in how the map operates. So this chair is going down on me. Sorry. On how the map operates. So one thing we've done is when you're out on the trail and say you have to deviate and go to a different location, or run around a roadblock or something, it's more flexible, adaptable, and it remembers the distance you put in initially, and will still route you back on that route.
All right, I'm convinced. I did ask the question, how did you improve on it? Because it was a very trusted tool for me beforehand, but the features are awesome. They're really, really cool. And I'd love to talk more about the trusted tools, but we got 2 more pillars that we really got to touch. And one of them is advanced multisport.
Yeah, advanced multisport is again consisting out of 2 elements. Again, the advanced multisport is, on the one side, we want to take care of the advanced athlete, right? We want them to give them the possibility to better understand what they're doing and better understand what their activities have in terms of effect on their body, and how they can improve and how they can become a better athlete more effectively in a very efficient way. right? That is the one thing. And on the other side, we also want to encourage them to do more, because we know that people like to embrace all kind of different sports. It's not about only running anymore or only cycling anymore. It's about just taking everything in, taking opportunities. And if you have a nice watch, you want to use it during these activities. So this multi-sport aspect is also very important. It was very important since the beginning of fēnix, and it is also important for us today. So we want to cover the depth in terms of making you a better athlete, and on the other side, we want you to experience the width also of what you can do. It's something like a good buddy that is always on your wrist, which on the one side always has good recommendations on behalf of getting a better athlete, and on the other side always encourages you to do something new.
So stronger focus on the multi-sport as well, improvements there, but obviously, you're saying it happened and it's there, but we want to know what. Like, what are the new things, the improved things on the fēnix 8?
Yeah, one activity we've focused on the fēnix 8 is strength training. And we know that a lot of athletes do it. It's one of our top used activities. And what's important there is that a lot of athletes, and it is kind of growing in endurance sports. It hasn't always been there for strength training, but they're realizing that in the off season and beyond just putting on miles, you need the strength training to help give you more balance and stability and endurance. But so strength training, what have we done? There's two main things. One is sport-focused workouts. So there's several different activities that we've created these dedicated sport workouts for. So, for example, trail running, since we're in this beautiful Chamonix Valley. For trail running, there are two main new workouts. So one is more focused on balance and stability, helping you, navigate the trails and stay upright on challenging terrain. And the other is force output, power, and is about training your muscles to be more powerful. So, but we do that for several other sports.
Like which ones?
Yeah,
Let's talk about it a little bit.
Biking, cycling, stand-up paddleboarding, and more. So backpacking. We want to connect the dots. We want to make it easier for people to discover the strength workouts and use those activities.
You have no idea how cool that is. Honestly, I've been around endurance sports for a long time, and I really hope the watch inspires more people to do strength training as well. You said it yourself, it's kind of like people are learning to understand it, and I love it that the watch is there to help with that because it's so important.
Yeah. And one additional strength training feature is sport training plans. So strength training plans. And the strength training plans, it's a progressive workout. It's about 4 to 6 weeks each one. There's a few different options. What you do is you set your benchmarks, so what you're capable of lifting at the time, and then you will guide you through a progressive workout to get you stronger. And at the end of that, you can reset those benchmarks with the gains that you've had, and we'll give you another one. So it's a nice... these two features work well together to make sure you're training off the trails as well as on them.
So going to try that.
Yeah.
See how the improvements go. Speaking of improvements, you mentioned something. If you out there listen carefully, the word scuba diving was mentioned before.
Yes. So the leak-proof buttons is a great new feature. One, just in general use of the watch. So even if you don't scuba dive, it's a great enhancement just to give you that trust. But two is it enables features like scuba diving. And Garmin's made great dive watches for years now. The Descent brand, it is for technical divers, wreck divers, any type of diving. It's just developed a really reputable, trusted brand in the dive community. So what we've taken some of those essential dive functionality, where now fēnix can do those down to 40 meters. So it really opens up a whole new world of exploration and adventure. And diving is a really cool sport that I didn't know much about before.
Yeah, you picked it up literally throughout the development process. You got your license. How was that experience?
Yeah, that's been a really fun experience. You learn to test the watches, you learn to what the features are, and you learn so much. Garmin's such a diverse company that makes so many different types of products, and so I didn't even realize some of the stuff we were doing in dive, and to have that in a fēnix now is with no fly times and the depth rating and so much more. I could go on and on. But we've got it's a whole new world, and it's been really fun to explore.
I think I'm now officially at the point where I got to find a new hobby that's sports related that my fēnix doesn't do. Scuba diving was the one, but now I can literally just go on a trip somewhere and I do my strength training or my endurance training in the morning. I go scuba diving at midday and I play a round of golf in the afternoon, and the watch does it all. Yeah. And yeah, I see you're excited about it, and you said you could go on forever, but I gotta stop you here because we're still missing one part that we want to talk about, and that's the everyday utility.
Yeah, everyday utility was something that we've identified very early in the development process, is that our athletes really like to be very, very into their activity, and their active lifestyle is very dear to them. But if we want to really be relevant for them, not only during sport but every day, then we really have to give them something that they want to, so that they don't want to take the watch off anymore from their wrist, right? So they really keep it on. So we developed a lot of smart features like smart notification, as we mentioned already, music and payment that you have on the watch as well. That is this kind of everyday, this relevant tools that we're putting there. And on the other side, once you have the watch on your wrist as well, we can also track you, and we can understand you as a user in a much better way. We are tracking 24/7 high resolution heart rate data or biometric data from your wrist, and that gives us the understanding of how are you progressing in your training, how are you doing in general. Did you sleep well? Did you recover well? All these elements are flowing into this everyday utility, which make it a relevant tool. And we just think it is very important that our customers wear their watch on a daily basis. That's also the reason why we give it this kind of super good battery life.
Yeah, you said it, like you call it an everyday, but it's an everyday, all day tool that you're wearing with the new battery life.
Yeah, and that's so important. Battery life being such a core part of what separates a fēnix from everybody else. But one of the nuances of like why battery life is important is that 24/7 tracking. That a lot of people who are training, the recovery happens at night, and where being able to track accurately, like every millisecond matters in terms of what we're able to understand from our athletes. And to go back to the space, that is one of the key reasons why they use our watch, is because of that sampling rate and that quality of that data. So that's one way, definitely an everyday utility feature that we use a lot of in all of our features. It's the fact that you can wear it during the day, at night, all the time is great.
So every time I get a new watch from you, there's something on there where I think like, do I really need that? We had it before. We're going to get into that in a second. But on this one, when you sent it over and you sent the specs, it was like a microphone?
Yeah. Well, it's a super tough microphone that's protected under a sensor guard, for one. It's rated to 100 meters. And then two, we have a really rugged speaker also rated to 100 meters. So those two things are really important. But yeah, speaker microphone, it's a really game-changing feature for everyday smartwatches. People use it a lot, and people have wanted it for a long time. But we wanted to make sure that, in the smartwatch area, it allows you to make and receive phone calls when paired with your phone. It also allows you to access your phone's voice assistant. So those are two smartwatch features, but we wanted to make sure that when we brought this in, it wasn't just a smartwatch feature. It had off-grid functionality as well. So there's two features that we've introduced. One is off-grid voice commands. So this is you can kind of think of it as shortcuts for your watch, voice shortcuts. It allows you to access things like, hey, what's my heart rate? Or what's my endurance score? Or turn on the flashlight, or mark a waypoint, or start a trail run, or things that maybe are tricky to find in the watch. So we wanted to make sure you could do functionality with your voice to make things simpler when you're on the trail. The other one is voice notes. And what's cool about this is I think a lot of some of the better ideas and more clarity I've had is when I'm running. It's just a certain kind of mood and spirit you get into. And being on the trail, you have some great ideas, you have things that you notice. So we wanted to have this voice note feature that's geo-referenced. So when you're running, you can press and hold the start and stop button, and it can start a voice recording, or you can set up your hotkey or your shortcut keys to configure this. But you leave a voice note, it saves the location of that voice note, so you can go back and later reference it.
Nice. That sounds like something I will use a lot. And I'm sure a lot of you out there know exactly the feeling that John was just talking about. You're out there, you got no distraction, you're in nature, and the ideas, the juices just start flowing, son. So I'm really excited about that feature coming in. But I mentioned, so first I was skeptical, until I got the explanation. Another one that was introduced earlier, I was really skeptical about, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't just me. Right? You understand it? Was the flashlight, which is now probably one of the most used features on my end on the watch. Something you've kept.
Yes, the flashlight's not going anywhere. That's definitely a feature that is incredible, and you won't be a skeptic long as soon as you try it, because it's one of those features that you just, once you start using it, you can't stop using it. And a lot of people tell us that they will never own a watch again that doesn't have a flashlight. It's that useful, and that's a bold statement, but it's so true. There's countless stories, and I know you're going to talk to the athletes more about that later, but just countless use cases and stories where that flashlight just comes in handy.
So you said it. We're going to talk about the that feature and other features with the athletes in a moment. And I know we could go on forever. You guys got to be beyond excited. I said it, to launch the watch. We've talked about some of the features, leak-proof buttons, the displays, the new functionality, and everything on it. But there is a second one that we talked about, the Enduro 3. So we talked about the 4 pillars that are the foundation for the fēnix 8. What's the Enduro based on? Who's it made for?
So, I mean, with the Enduro, actually also these 4 pillars helped us really, because we noticed at some point that the Enduro, as we kept developing the fēnix, we felt like the Enduro is probably on a different development path, right? It is not going after the same target group. We were talking to the ultra performance athletes. I mean, those crazy guys, which are running for hundreds of kilometers and running for tens of thousands of meters in elevation without making any break, right? And they gave us a feedback that for them, all these crazy smart features are not this relevant, but they really appreciate long battery life and the lightness of the product, which the fēnix in some cases may be compromised a little bit just to become more relevant for a broad audience, right? So the Enduro is really taking care of these 2 elements. So we made deliberate choices on behalf of the development. For a while, we could develop the Enduro alongside the fēnix, right? But at some point, we just felt like, okay, now it's the time to give this watch an ultra performance design, and that was what we made in the end. So a really heavily performing ultra performance watch.
Without taking away any of the ruggedness, though, that's the important part. Is like it's still a super rugged watch. It still has that titanium bezel, sapphire lens, and polymer housing. But yeah, as Martin was saying, we've really trimmed out the weight, and we've done that by if you look at the design, it has a little bit thinner bezel. So that metal ring around the outside, that's thinner, but still very tough, but it protects the sapphire lens. And why we made it thinner is, 1, it reduces weight, but 2, we've increased the solar surface area a lot on this watch, which gets incredible battery life, gets unlimited battery life in several of our battery life modes, which is crazy. So that's one thing. We also have taken some of the metal off of the body of the watch to make it, it's a polymer unibody, and that just makes it where it's, again, lightweight and can fit as much battery as we possibly can in there. And then combined with the UltraFit bands, which people love, just the comfort, the lightweight utility of those. So it's a great product.
You did mention the new solar technology. Can you go a little more into detail on that one?
Yeah, so it's a completely new solar technology compared to what we've done in previous generations, which gets us a lot more battery life as a result in solar energy. So 1, it is a lot more efficient. So it's again, new technology that just uses energy more efficiently. So 1, it's more efficient, but 2, we've changed the design so it takes up, it doesn't go over the display of the watch anymore. It's focused on the perimeter, and because of that increased efficiency, it lets us still get the power gains we need. But in doing that and clearing up the display, it just allows you, it's less obstructed. So you can see into the watch, you can see that the memory and pixel display that much clearer. So that's a big benefit of the technology as well. And then lastly, it's the appearance of it. It's a blacker finish, so it just blends in with the overall watch design. So less of a performance thing, just more of an aesthetic. But yeah, those 3 improvements make solar really meaningful.
But in terms of performance, what this means is really we carved out a lot of weight. That means that the Enduro 3 is 30% lighter than the fēnix, right? And on top of this, we are pushing GPS time and battery life up to 320 hours. With this product, which is just stunning. That's exactly
double what we were getting on Enduro too.
Yeah,
so.
that is exactly what the target group or what the market was telling us, and we're following through on the Enduro eventually.
And it's still, like, we're talking about how it is different, but it still brings a lot of the great features that users know from the fēnix as well. It's just for the slightly more hardcore, or as you said, with a lot of respect, the crazy ones out there. All right, so there you have it, 2 fantastic new products, and I promised you that we're going to talk to some athletes, and I'm just going to say that out there as well. When Martin used the word crazy, it is with the most respect for what they're doing and so on, and that's what we want to talk about. So I'd love to continue with you guys, but I want to hear, you know, what the athletes are excited about and how they use it in everyday use and so on. So you heard it, the fēnix 3 comes in different sizes, in different displays. You've got the AMOLED, we've got the Solar. It's the most rugged watch that you guys have produced so far. Can't wait to see what's coming up next. You know, we've heard about the leak-proof button, the new routing options, so many great things that are going into that, the strength training features and the plans and so on. So a lot of great news and a lot of great things to check out. Same on the Enduro, which has gotten even lighter, doubled the battery life, new solar power system in the display. So, and they are available as of today, so you can all check them out. Thank you, John. Thank you, Martin. I'm going to show you out there a little video about the Enduro, and in the meantime, bring our athletes here, and then we'll have a little chat with people who've really achieved the crazy in their life.
They call you crazy for the 4 a.m. starts, for the endless miles, for pushing your body to the brink. They might call you crazy, but that just spurs you on. Go further with Enduro 3, the ultra-performance GPS smartwatch from Garmin.
Welcome back. They might call you crazy is what we just heard in the video. We'll find out if the 3 would consider themselves crazy. Let me just quickly introduce. So in the middle, we got Amanda Basham, who's, you know, I don't know what the primary focus is. Are we going with a 2-time mom and coach first, and then a crazy endurance or ultra runner focusing on the 100 kilometers or 100 miles?
Yeah, that's probably the right order.
Is that the right order?
Yeah.
Is that the priorities at home? That's perfect. Then on the left, not dealing with his chair right now, that is Jake Cattrall, who's literally just come back from a wild project, a new route across the Alps that nobody's ever done before, 2,000 kilometers. He's also set the record for Norway to Spain, which is 5,660 kilometers. And then on my right-hand side, I'm not sure if he really requires any introduction, Ryan Sanders, the man who was the first in 2010 to win all 4 desert races, who's won Western States, who's won Leadville, and who is, I'm saying it flat out, finally going to win a big race in Chamonix this weekend. Welcome to the 3 of you.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Great to have you here. So 2 of you are going to race this week. Amanda
Yes.
and Ryan.
Yep.
All right, what are the expectations?
Well, we're both doing the full UTMB, so it's just going to be a long, fun day. That's my expectations.
Yeah, I think 100 miles is such a long way. I try not to get too far ahead of myself, but yeah, I guess the kind of first prize would is obviously to make it back to the finish line, but to get there as quick as I can. So I try not to get caught up too much with what everyone's doing around me.
I mean, let me just quickly touch what you said there. It's going to be a long, fun day. Is it fun all the way?
Well, it depends on what you think is fun. You know, when you look at it afterwards, it is a really fun, long day. You might not say that at every moment during the race.
Okay, fair enough. I feel you on that. Jake, not fun all the way. You just did 2,000 kilometers across the Alps, a route that's nobody done, so obviously a course record, and a first. Obvious question would be why?
Yeah, the reason why is I had like a little quarter-life crisis, and I saw someone who really inspired me. You might call him crazy also. And I put ahead of me, I really wanted to do a Antarctica crossing. I wanted to do that by myself. And I wanted to also try and figure out like the gap between how can you become how can you be a normal person and then grow yourself into a sort of proper athlete? So I've set myself a series of events that would sort of train me physically and mentally in order to take on a challenge like Antarctica, because people throw around sort of like big events quite like, oh, you're going to take a trip there, a trip there, but like taking on an Antarctic challenge requires a large amount of focus and growth before you can do something like that, and I want to respect the event as well.
That's an interesting one. An Arctic challenge, that crossing and getting enough food in, well, that's a different story right there. Hey, so since I have you here, obviously we want to talk about the watches a little bit and what kind of user you are. We're talking about the fēnix 8 and the Enduro 3. Actually, I'm going to do that first, but then I want to hear your wildest running stories afterwards. Varun, I'm going to start with you. You know, you've got the choice, fēnix or Enduro. What kind of guy are you?
I'm definitely a fēnix type of guy, and I guess I'm just a creature of habit. Fēnix was the first watch I used, but I mean, to be honest, I think they both just as good. And I mean, it's incredible just to, like, I've been running for a long time now, and just to see how like technology has improved from when I first started, and you're kind of constantly worrying about charging your device, and now it's like I don't even need to charge it anymore.
So you're from South Africa, so a country that's known for a lot of sunshine and very little shade. Which display would you choose, the solar or the AMOLED?
Definitely still the solar. Just I want to keep things simple, not have to worry about charging my watch. I mean, 2 years ago, a friend of mine, Ran and I, we ran around Lesotho, a little landlocked country within South Africa, and I only had to charge my fēnix twice, and it actually rained most of the time, so there wasn't too much sun, so it's pretty impressive.
All right, Amanda, your weapon of choice.
I'm definitely an Enduro girl. Anytime that I can take some weight off, even if it's a very small amount, I will do so. I'm definitely more outside than inside also, so I try to do everything outside as much as I can, and it's just great for that. So I love the Enduro. I've used it for a while.
It's like when, we're talking about the endurance on, what are some of your favorite features? Why do you love it?
Well, the navigation, for sure. I think that's my number one. And only because I'm so navigationally challenged, I just can't go anywhere, even in my backyard, without knowing and seeing maps. And so I pretty much create a route every run that I go on. It's just a good backup. I think I'm also on a time schedule every time, since I have 2 little toddlers, and I can't afford to get lost.
It would be bad.
Yeah.
Hey, kids,
yeah.
Mommy's not coming home today.
Yeah.
Make your own dinner. All right, fair enough. Jake, just looking at you when I asked the question, you had that, why do I have to choose face?
Yes, I split between both. I almost use the fēnix as a training watch to make sure that, like, when I'm preparing for big projects like the ones I do, like my fitness is in the right place. And then I use the Enduro as a sort of big event or project piece. And it's all about reliability. Like in the training that goes into my events, I really like to work on, like, is everything working the right way? Are the muscles working? Are the ligaments right? And that needs to come through on, like, tech pieces that I'm wearing. Like, is it reliable? And, like, time is of the essence, actually, on these events. And if I'm running for 10 hours, I need to know that, like, the route that I'm on is going in the right direction. And if there's a route closure, how do I get around it? And can I use the map and zoom in and see that all the trails are connected somehow? And that's the thing that kind of gets me through the events.
If you look at the project you just did with across the Alps, what is the feature that you used the most?
I think there was a time element to this, so it was the maps really were like the key element for me, and I actually found that when I got to a direction post and there was signage that would sort of go like left to this hut and whatever, people would actually spend 5 to 7 minutes looking at their phones, looking at other maps, trying to decide like, is that the right way I'm going and this right way? I would be ripping it down the hill, come to the junction and just know exactly which way I needed to be. And I would say like in the day duration, I would save about 40 to 50 minutes worth of decision time just on the fact that I had my direction. I knew exactly where I was going. 40
to 50 minutes a day, that is proper. It's more than the average that I run per day that you're saving in time.
It matters a lot when you're running 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. There's an extra hour of recovery right there. So I would say, okay, hey, maps is kind of like when you hear there's a cool maps function, it makes sense that you would use that a lot. Right? Is there a feature on the watch where you say, okay, I'm a little bit surprised that I'm actually using it that much?
Definitely the flashlight. I think I thought it was quite gimmicky initially, and then I remember running a 100-miler and having to change my headlamp batteries, and normally I'm kind of always puzzling around in the dark trying to find them, and all of a sudden I had a second backup light, and it just made it so simple. And then also I'm also a dad. I've got a son, and he's always fiddling with my gear and playing around with it. And one night he was playing with my headlamp before I was doing a really early morning run, and I started my run and realized my headlamp was flat. So luckily I had a backup light on flashlight on my fēnix, and I could use that for the first 2 hours of my run. So definitely the flashlight is kind of my favorite. Even in South Africa, we've got a thing called or we have load shedding, which is basically we get rolling power blackouts. So again, we often don't know when it happens. Just all of a sudden at like 7 o'clock at night, you have no power for 3 hours. So it's just super handy to always have a flashlight attached to you.
All Europeans are just now going like, what do you mean no power for 3 hours? How does that happen? Yeah, it's a thing over there. How do the South Africans say hectic?
Yeah, hectic, or how's it?
Yeah. Amanda, let's talk a little bit about how you got into this. So I said it, you're a mom, you're a coach. So there could be simpler hobbies, like darts is quite popular these days, for example. Takes a couple of hours in the day. You can grab a beer on the side. But no, it's got to be ultra running. Why?
Yeah, there's definitely easier things I could do. I think my kids wouldn't mind if we just went to the playground all day. That'd be pretty easy. And here, they actually have bars at the playground. So you can have the beer at the playground.
They have what?
They have little bars at the playground.
You gotta laugh, friends.
Isn't that great?
Oh, it's great.
They know how to do it here. But yeah, I got into it before kids when I was in my 20s, and I had a lot more time. And I just really loved being able to see what I could do. I thought it was cool when I would go to these 100-mile races and people were just destroyed, so destroyed, and they would come back to life and be so happy at the finish. And I just wanted to know if I could do it.
Well, you can. Yeah, you've proven it.
Yeah.
But speaking of you've proven it, what running goals do you still have?
Well, I still have a lot, I think. Luckily I've been in this for over 10 years, but I'm still kind of young for the sport. So I think I have a lot of years left, and doing well here would be one thing. I'd like to podium at Western States, and I'd probably like to do Leadville someday. I've got a lot.
You've got a lot. The list is long.
Yeah.
Focus on this weekend. Fingers crossed already. Wishing you well for the race. Jake, one of the things I talked to John Martin about was the strength training. And how, it's now a feature of the watch, but how important is strength training and body maintenance for an ultra runner?
I think if you're a runner, like most of people are who are just getting into it, I think the most important part is the running. And I think once you want to progress that, you have to really start thinking a bit more sort of like well-rounded, like how strong are my muscles, how long can they last, and you need a companion in order to sort of track those things, and I think like using tech is a good way of measuring this. And obviously your your own sort of body feel is probably like, once you're dialed in, is probably the best indicator of like how I'm doing. But like having data to support it is something that it makes you able to sleep better at night. That's for sure.
Calling you crazy is sort of like, the slogan of the Enduro 3. This is something we've mentioned before. But do you actually consider, let me put it the other way around. Would your former self, before you started ultra running, consider you now crazy?
Ryan Messner said you're crazy before you've done it, and then you're a hero once you've done it, or something like this. That's the quote, right? And I think a lot of people are in the process, and I think that puts a lot of people in the process of crazy, and I quite like that. I like how we can, train ourselves, we can be in the mixer, and I feel like I've been called crazy my entire life, actually. So
since before the running?
Yeah, before the running, and I think that's something that I'm quite comfortable with now. I think it's probably something I had an issue with, but yeah.
I don't think I would have thought it was crazy before. I think that's part of my personality and why I try all sorts of things, because I just don't think it's crazy. I never look at it that way. Like when I watched Western States for the first time and I saw how miserable people were, and then how they got to the finish a whole different person and they'd come back to life. It was so cool. Like I just look at it as, this is awesome, and can I do it, and I want to try it, instead of it being some crazy thing that's abnormal.
That's pretty cool. So I want to hear your perspective. Is there anything other athletes do that you would consider crazy?
Killian right now?
Maybe some of Killian's stuff, yeah. He's kind of on his own planet.
I love it. That's just like Killian. That just describes it.
Yeah.
Everyone
describes
knows
everything.
at the same time, yeah.
But I can tell you from where I'm sitting, you've done wild things. You've done crazy things. And there must have been moments that still stand out throughout the career, the projects and everything that you had. So I'm going to start with you, Ryan. Like a memory that comes to mind, you're like, okay, this was wild, or this was incredibly beautiful, spectacular when running.
Yeah, I guess the first thing that comes to mind was when a friend of mine, Raina, and I, we ran across the Himalayas from one side of Nepal to the other. It took 24 days. And I mean, at the time, it just sounded like something cool to do. But I think that last morning, actually realizing that we're actually going to make it to the Indian border with Nepal, and we had actually survived. Like Raina got frostbite. We were chased by bandits. It was just a crazy adventure. But at the same time, just the memories, just just at 2 or 3 in the morning, just knocking on a random kind of person's door and them inviting us in and letting us spend the night. Just just how small, I mean, like a small gesture of kindness, like how far it can go, like literally saved us a few nights. I wouldn't be sitting here if they had wouldn't let us spend the night. So yeah, that definitely comes to mind as probably one of the craziest things I've done.
Oh, that's a good story. I got to ask though, the bandits, did they chase you on foot?
Yeah, it started off, it was like towards the end, it started off on a scooter, and then they ambushed us, and yeah, they tried to chase us on foot, but luckily I could outrun them.
They probably picked the wrong guy.
They probably, yeah, what a great idea. Let's run down Ryan Sanders. I love it. Wow, it's a good thought. Emina, your best running story.
Well, so I didn't have anything chase me, which I'm very happy about. But I did this race in Queenstown, New Zealand, called Shot Over Moonlight Marathon. And they helicoptered us to the start, and it was so cool. It was like a 20-minute helicopter ride to just get you jazzed. And I mean, it did the trick. I was so ready to race. It was awesome. It was so beautiful.
They helicoptered you to the start. That's very VIP.
It was, yeah.
Was it just to entertain you guys, or was it just really remote?
Partially remote, but you could get a bus there. It was a little bit of a bumpy ride, so it was a little easier to go on the helicopter.
Bus, helicopter. I think you chose wisely. Yeah,
yeah.
Definitely. Jake, how about you?
I think I constantly underestimate how inspiring these kinds of events are. Like everything that you guys are doing and some of the trips that I've done is that when you're in the project, you don't really sort of understand what ramifications and what ripple effects that you're actually making. And I ran with one guy in the middle of nowhere in Norway when I was running from Norway to Spain. We didn't know each other. He had to drive for 3 hours to come and find me on the road. And he joined, and I asked him sort of why he joined, and he gave me a very short answer, and it wasn't like his truth, you know. So I asked him again, like, why did you join? And he really spilled like a quite in-depth life story with me, which I won't share now, obviously. But I sort of realized like how like tight the community is, and actually it gives me a lot more energy when I go into my next projects, where I'm now starting to think more like, wow, people are really waiting and watching for a spark for themselves, you know. So it becomes like, it's about you, obviously you're trying to do the event, but it's also people are waiting for that initiative to get started themselves. And that's something that I really like about like this community and doing these kinds of events. Like, they are crazy, but they're the start of something beautiful also.
That was fantastic. We did not rehearse this, but it's such a great transition for my last question that I would have had for Ryan at this point. And before we do that, I want to say thank you to everybody out there already for joining us. I think we learned a lot. I hope you got some inspiration from our athletes. You learned something new about the fēnix 8 that we just launched, the Enduro 3. Remember, it's available as of today, but I want to finish it out with you, Ryan, because I know there's a lot of you out there who have dreams, who have aspirations, who just listen to those stories, but have that feeling, my project, my thoughts, my dreams are too big. What's your advice for them?
I think you got to dream big. Like, no dream is too big. I always say it's just important to kind of put a plan in place and like how to achieve the dream. Don't just talk about it. Whether it's breaking a dream down into like mini goals. So I don't know, the dream might be to run a marathon in 2 years' time, but then focus on running 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathon, and slowly build up. And I mean, I think nothing's impossible if you put your mind to it and you're passionate and you just never give up.
Or you do it like Amanda, you watch 100 mile, I think that's cool. Let's do this as fast as possible. All right, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed the time as much as I did with our athletes. And today, thank you so much again for joining us. And all that's left for us to say goodbye from beautiful Chamonix and wish you a wonderful day. And good luck with your own adventures and finding the next one and daring to do them.